What's happening, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Phightin Words. Anthony SanFilippo's here. I'm Bob Wankel. Phillies lose 2 out of 3 to the San Diego Padres. Do salvage the final game of the series, avoid the sweep, get to the All-Star break, Anthony, in first place over the New York Mets by half a game, and that is the glass half full outlook as we now finally get to pause and reset before the second half. And I don't know about you, but I feel like I could use a break. I feel like all of us could sort of use a break. And I know they're a first place team, and I know that probably makes me sound like a spoiled brat or whatever it is, but I could use a few days. I think this offense could use a few days too.
Rob Thompson said it, Bob. He said it himself that the team needs a break. So everybody needs a break. It's crazy. Like, you need a break. They need a break. We all need a break. But there's a lot to talk about. Like, it's crazy. Like we have no Phillies baseball again until Friday. And I feel like we could potentially do like a daily show between now and then and not run out of things to talk about with this team right now, because there's just so much to get into. And, but yeah, I mean, all things considered, when you really kind of break it down, the reality of it is, as aggravating as this season has seemed for much of the season, they're a first-place baseball team, and they're only 2 games behind the Dodgers for the best record in the National League. Like, it's wild to think that that's the case, because there are so many things that we identify as wrong with the Phillies, and yet there they are. So it tells you that there's still a lot of top-end talent here, getting enough of the job done to have them in the position that they're in. But yes, we all want more. Everybody wants to see more. And I think that that's kind of where we're at with them right now.
Well, it's funny. It would be, I think it's fair to say this is a good team. So when people say they stink, they have no shot, this team blows, it's not worth investing in it, that's an overreaction.
Yeah.
You sound ill-informed when you say those things. That being said, to say that this offense is infuriating, that it's not good enough, that they can't win if they don't upgrade the offense, if they can't win if they don't upgrade this bullpen. Like, I do think that those things are fair. So while you get to the All-Star break in first place, and I think that we shouldn't take that for granted, I do think you're living in reality if you acknowledge that it's got to be better than this. They have to do more. They have to get here They have to get here. And when I say that, they have to get to a place where I'm using my hands. They need more in the bullpen. They need more in this lineup. They have to have more.
Yeah. As Kyle says, not great, Bob.
Not great.
Not great.
The game Saturday night kind of was one where, like, I don't know if a fan, like, as you guys listening as fans get to a place where, like, you know what? I'm invested. I'll check the game day app. I'll see how the game's going. But I just can't do 2.5 hours all in on this team today. That's sort of how I felt after the game Saturday night. I was like, all right, like, I know that they're about to have 5 days off or whatever it is, 4 days off. So I guess I'll keep an eye on this. But after Saturday night, I was like, man, I need a reset here.
Well, here's an interesting thing that video guy Amadeo, who does all of our clips, just posted in the chat, and I want to bring it up because I think it's 2 back-to-back comments, but I think it's their prescient. The first one, he says, their approach change made an already flawed offense even more flawed. And then he says, at least when they were hitting homers constantly, it was fun.
Well, I mean, look.
I think he's right? I mean, I think he's kind of spot on with that.
For them to score runs right now, it feels like it takes 2, 3, 4 hits. It's like a pass the baton type of offense. They just can't overcome mistakes. They can't overcome guys going through cold spells because they need 2, 3, 4 guys in an inning to piece it together in order to generate offense.
Yeah.
Look, Bryce Harper directionally going, I think, in the right way. It's looked a lot better here on the West Coast, certainly starting with Wednesday's game and 4 extra base hits. I thought that he showed some good things over the weekend. Kyle Schwarber, he's going to hit 53 home runs. Like, that's awesome. You feel good about that. But up and down this lineup elsewhere, there's just not enough. The Bryson Stott situation is untenable at second base. The Max Kepler situation, in terms of him just even being on this roster, I think is borderline untenable. And then I know that they go to Kemp and they have to go to Sosa for Bohm early in the game when Bohm gets pulled over the weekend, leaving Marshall on a lefty on Saturday night in the 8th inning in a key spot. But again, like, Johan Rojas isn't an option for you off the bench there. And so that whole weakness is exposed. It's the same talking points over and over and over, but as we creep up on the trade deadline, they're just being highlighted over and over and over again. And it just leads you to a place of will they or won't they? And you and I have talked on this show, and you said it again yesterday, a text message to myself and Tim Kelly. You don't think that they're going to improve this lineup. And my response to that was, well, that makes it easy for everybody, because if they don't improve this lineup, it doesn't matter. They're not going to win.
When I say I don't think they're going to improve the lineup, I honestly don't think that they're going to make a major move for a bat. I think you might see some along the margins kind of stuff, right? Like maybe a better right-handed option for center field, or maybe a better, left-handed option for left field. But I still think that you're looking at two platoons out there in some capacity, unless you're taking a flyer on Luis Robert. Like we've talked about that a bazillion times, right? I mean, guy's been terrible for a long time. Unless you're taking that flyer and you say, all right, cross your fingers and hope that he figures it out on a team where it matters, as opposed to, on a team that gets 30 people to show up at their games and people get shot in the outfield in the stands like they did last year. Like those things, like that's the thing. Like, maybe that's the only thing I say, okay, if you count that as a major change, or maybe that is a major change. But I don't think that the players are there. And I know, people talk about, Tim Kelly wrote about Stephen Kwan. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't see Cleveland doing that. Kyle Seiler mentioned earlier Byron Buxton in this comment, and Griffin Jacks, empty the minors, get both, take a flyer on Luis Robert, if anything's left over, then it's Santana, whatever. Like, I don't think that Buxton's going to be available, right? I just don't see it. I don't see this. Here's another one. Steve T, kick the tires on Trout. It's just not going to happen, guys. Like, that's what I'm trying to tell you is I don't feel like, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. And I'll be the first I'll raise my hand and say, holy cow, they surprised the hell out of me. But I don't see it happening. And so that's why I keep saying it on this show and said it to you guys in the text message. They're going to double down on pitching. They're going to double down. They're going to go out and get bigger names for the bullpen and rely on the very good starting pitching that they have, and then have a few hammers at the back end and say, we'll go at it with an inconsistent offense, and we're going to bet that our pitching is better than yours. That's going to be their attempt to win a world championship.
All right, now we didn't mention this at the top of the show, but I need to step away for about 3 minutes. So, Anthony, I'm going to let you just take over. I'll be right back.
Yes. Go right ahead, Bob. And I'll just go solo on the shot here. Just so you know, Bob's in the middle of moving, just so everybody knows. And as part of the process of him moving, he's got somebody coming and buying something from his house that him and his wife and family, they're selling. And the guy was supposed to be there a half hour ago. He was late, and now he's like, oh, I'm sorry, so he's got to go meet the guy upstairs. So he'll be gone for just 5 minutes. But yeah, I think that really really the thing is that when you look at this team, they don't have the players that you want to fill the roster are not out there. And Phillies and Eagles throwbacks is there a right-handed bat that you guys think fits? It's so glaring. Are there names that that's how some people never go on time? You're right, Robert. But are there names? Of course, there's names. I mean, we could throw out any name we want. The reality of it is, how many of them are getting moved? How many of these guys are going to be traded? And you sit there and go, okay, that's a kind of a player that can fill in. Here's one that Brendan Hallinan's mentioned. He says, any interest in Lane Thomas? Guardians can throw him into a deal with Clase, which is the Guardians' more attractive asset. But LT could fill a center field right-handed role. I mean, Lane Thomas is fine. I mean, but is he a needle mover? No, he's not a guy that's going to come in here and be like, oh yeah, there's that instant upgrade to the offense. That's not happening. Bob, that was a quick transaction.
It was quick. Not messing around. I said, all right, give me my money. I'm out of here.
That was quick. But no, so you didn't miss anything. We really basically just sat there and said, just talked about a couple of things. There's just not that bat that's going to be out there, or at least none that we think of yet. Who knows between now and the next 2 weeks if teams decide we're going to sell, and then all of a sudden a bat that you don't expect becomes available. Well, that maybe changes things, right? Maybe that changes it. But right now, that bat's not visibly out there.
You can describe it however you want. It takes two to tango. You have to have the availability in order to even contemplate and consummate a deal. But I go back to the start of June 1, where, look, the Phillies starting rotation has been phenomenal all year, but it's been exceptionally good over the last month and a half. And they are 19-19 since the start of June. And you look at their starting rotation, it has pitched to a 2.55 ERA in over 215 innings. It's the best ERA by 0.7 of a run over Milwaukee in that time frame. Wins above replacement, Fangraphs 5.7. Next highest is the Brewers, 3.5. I mean, they are so head and shoulders better. And it's been like this all year, but just the reason why I use June 1 is because it's been so up and down. It's win 2 out of 3, lose 2 out of 3, win 3 out of 4, lose 3 out of 4. They cannot seem to get away from this magnetic pull back to mediocrity.
And you're not wrong. And that's my tagline. You're not wrong. But the one thing I will say to their defense, just to play slight devil's advocate, in those 38 games, 28 of them have been against teams with winning records. So only 10 games have been against bad teams. So you're 19-19 in those 38 games, and 28 of the 38 games are coming against good teams. 19-19 isn't the worst thing. Like, it could be a lot worse, right?
No, it's not. But when you go back to last Sunday and you see them fail to score 5 or more runs 6 times, you go, all right. I mean, 6 out of the 7 games, they can't get the 5 runs. And in most of them, they could hardly get the 3, right? Like, they popped on Wednesday with the 13 spot. And so everything looks pretty and it doesn't look nearly as bad as it is. But I don't know, man. You just go back to this weekend. And if you're a Phillies hater, if you're just a total non-believer, and you're like, this is actually a waste of my time, I hate this team, then this weekend was for you. Because you got the starting pitching on Friday night. You had a situation late in the game between Kepler and Castellanos. Neither guy can get it done. Castellanos runs a deep count, but then he swings at a pitch off the plate, hits it back to the mound, can't get it done. Kepler gives you a non-competitive at bat, right? Saturday night, you have opportunities. Now, Zach Wheeler wasn't awesome, but he wasn't a disaster. 4 earned runs, I guess it was in 6 innings. Yeah. They had 2 different leads in the game. They had opportunities late. Top of the lineup in the 9th inning does nothing for you in a big spot in the 9th. Yesterday, more of the same. It was dreadful. I mean, the Padres gave the Phillies 5 outs in the 1st inning yesterday, and they struggled to score a run. It just, I don't know, man. I just look at it, and it's tough. I mean, I think, like, it depends what day of the week it is. If you talk to me, sometimes I'm like, look, the Phillies are a good team. Like I've said from Jump Street, I think it's a 93-win team. I think that they are really good. I think we almost do take this team for granted. I don't want to say we're spoiled, but I think we take this for granted. There haven't been many seasons as good as this one, and probably won't be. But this team is tough to watch. They're
frustrating.
They're sucks frustrating sometimes.
But and here's another thing. Like, you're a big run differential guy, right?
I am. Yes. They outscored their opponents on this trip. I know.
6th best in baseball.
Yeah.
Plus 63. I mean, again, I'm not trying to defend this, because I sit there and watch them struggle offensively too. And I say to myself, this is ridiculous. Like, if they had even somewhat consistent offense, average 4 runs a game, 4.5 runs a game, you're gonna win this whole thing, because this league is not good this year.
Right, and you look at what the Dodgers are going through right now. Haven't been playing good baseball, not scoring. Offense has struggled. Mookie Betts hasn't had a good year. Muncy's obviously out. Yeah. You assume that they'll be better when he comes back. But again, you get to this deadline here, and are the Dodgers going to be that player? Like, what I really don't want to see, and where I will kill the Phillies, if we get to a spot where the trade deadline comes up and the Dodgers say, hey, you know what? There is a guy, and he is available, and they're able to make the deal because they're more aggressive or they're more creative. And then the Phillies are sitting there kind of tweaking on the edges. And then we get to August 1, we say, now look at these rosters. Now the Dodgers are starting to run away. Now name your team in this field, this tight race that is taking a step past the Phillies on paper. That will aggravate me.
Well, that's where I think everybody's got to hold on to their emotion about the Phillies right now, because the difference to me between where the Phillies were at this time last year and where they are right now is that last year, and ultimately they fell apart against the Mets in the playoffs. We all know that. But last year at this time, you still looked at it and said, teams are chasing the Phillies. So teams at the deadline are trying to improve to chase the Phillies down because the Phillies had the best record in baseball. They had an 8-game lead in the National League East, whatever. Now that's not the case. Now the Phillies are in a dogfight. And yeah, they're in first place. But if we're going to be real about it, they're only 3 games ahead of the Giants, who would be out of the playoffs at this point, right? So like it's a much closer race. And so with that being said, teams can pass you at the deadline by making the right moves. Whereas last year, you're not making up the difference of 8 games or 8.5 games with 1 or 2 deadline moves. Like those things aren't happening. So you could be more comfortable trying to work around the margins like the Phillies did last year. In the spot that they're in now, you can't do that. So you actually have to win the deadline, or at least be one of the winners of the deadline this time around. You can't let other teams beat you to good players. And if that happens, then yes, then I think everybody's got the right to sit there and yell and scream and kick and complain if the Phillies lose out to, say, the Mets or the Cubs or the Dodgers for those players. This year, that makes a difference. Whereas last year, I didn't think it was that big of a difference. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Look, I want to do some. I want to talk about the draft. I want to talk about Gage Wood specifically because I know that there was a lot of buzz about that pick.
Title of our show.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's interesting. It might have immediate ramifications. It may not. We'll see. But there's some meaning that I think you can derive from that selection and what they've done in the draft overall. And I will put, I will preface it by saying that I am not a draft expert, and I'm not going to pretend to be deeply familiar with all of these arms. I do love this time of year when we have people on Phillies Twitter that act like pro scouts, and they watch a couple YouTube clips and they regurgitate the other things that some of the scouts and some of the baseball prospectus and Baseball Americas have to say. And like, it's funny. It's funny watching people like play the content game. It's all.
Well, I know, but I'll tell you what I did find interesting about it. And I was, I'm a seam head. I was watching the draft after the Phillies. Like you sit down, and you watch the Phillies game, and then
I watched the draft. Yeah, I watched
ESPN, and you're watching the first round of the draft on ESPN, which less than 1 million people do in this country, which is fine. But I'll tell you what I found really interesting about the broadcast. They showed one war room. It was the Phillies. They didn't show anybody else's war room. They showed the Phillies war room. And it seemed like as soon as Gage Wood was selected, everybody on that panel had some inside knowledge that the Phillies are really excited by this because here comes a guy that can pitch for them in October.
Yeah.
Like it was almost as if this was a known thing that nobody's talked about, right?
Yeah.
And I'll admit I was a little surprised by it. But when you put the puzzle pieces together, and you go back to what Dave Dombrowski said, what he said that, sometimes you have to have your improvements come from within. You're not thinking about a player that you haven't drafted yet. You're thinking the players that are already in existence. But in a sense, could he have been referencing the fact that, hey, we may draft a guy who's we think can get ready by October because he was really good in college?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, is that something that he was kind of setting you up for a little bit?
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting thing. And everybody that kind of knew it, and we were sitting there like, oh, okay, all right. So it's an intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, they seem fire up about it. The fastball whiff rate is best fastball in the country. We know the deal is there's been some injury issues. He hasn't thrown a lot with a ton of success, high college ERA. Like the talking points are the talking points. There's obviously something there. If they are able to get him in and he's able to locate and the fastball plays and they're able to feel good enough about a secondary pitch, could they get him up here and maybe make it work in some capacity, much the way they did with a guy like Kirkering, who obviously spent more time in the minors than would in this situation. But could they fast track him and maybe have him up here by later in the year? I guess it's possible. It's not unprecedented. Certainly would be unprecedented for the Phillies.
Yes.
But I've seen the takes, and that's one of them. And then maybe a less extreme one is that simply they are preparing to part ways with some of their pitching depth at this deadline. And this is a way to replenish that depth. And it's sort of going to foreshadow some of their moves here in the next couple of weeks, which.
Well, that's an automatic. I mean, how else do you look at what they've done in this draft to this point? And when I tell you like up to the minute, because I have all the up to the minute picks, they are now through 8 rounds of the draft, 8 pitchers, 7 of them collegiate pitchers. So only one high schooler, actually a guy that they got in the 7th round that a lot of people thought they were going to take in the 2nd round. Matthew Fisher from high school in Indiana. But 8 pitchers they've drafted, and 7 of them collegiate. So when you talk about college pitchers, they're closer, right? They're guys that can get through quicker. Doesn't mean that maybe none of these guys pan out. Maybe 1, maybe 2. Who knows what they end up being? But the reality of it is that they loaded up today and yesterday and today on pitchers in the draft. That has to tell you that they're going to be moving pitchers.
I don't want to put you on the spot, and you may not know. I don't. But, certainly Abel is the one guy that everyone tosses out there. Painter, I presume, is untouchable. I don't think anything that's happened over the last few weeks with him, even though it's been less than inspiring at times, would change the Phillies' philosophy about dealing Andrew Painter. But let's assume Abel would be one guy they will be likely to move in light of what we're seeing. Are there any other names that you would look at and say, yeah, he's a guy that they might prepare in a package this month? Because most of the players that we talk about, it always comes back to the Millers and the Crawfords and the catching prospects, and it's Escobar in the middle infield. Like, it's all about the positional guys. It's not really about the pitchers. So I ask you, because again, I don't know, is there anybody else that you'd look at and say, yeah, teams might be interested in player X?
Yeah, I think that probably Gene Cabrera. He's on a more secondary level. If you're talking about just pitchers, we're not talking position players. Yeah. Gene Cabrera, I think, is a possible name that you can see go. There's been some interest in Alex McFarlane, who's been down at A-ball. Some talk about him as well. So, I think guys like that maybe could get added in. I don't think that you're talking about anybody though top end. I think your top pitcher that you would move is McAbel.
Right.
I guess you can always move one of the guys that has been up in the pen, like a freaking Mercado kind of thing, like guys like that. Still probably. I'm just saying. He's got life on his pitches. He just doesn't throw strikes. Maybe another team looks at it and says, we'll take a chance on that. Like, who knows? That's the kind of thing. But no, I don't think that there's another really big name player that you're looking to trade that's a pitcher. I think it would be position players if you're looking.
Okay. I want to play a little bit of a game then, because it sort of ties into the draft. It sort of ties into the trade deadline, certainly into the trade deadline. And the first half wrap up, so to speak. And we don't need to put letter grades on the thing, but let me just ask you about some key figures and whether or not, or how you see these players figuring into the Phillies' future come the second half of this season when things rev back up and when we get to August. So let's start with Crawford.
Okay.
Is he going to be here in August?
That's a great question. I'm torn with this answer. I think that the Phillies do want to give him a chance in the outfield. I do. And I think we might see him coming out of the break for a couple weeks. But I also do think his name is in play to be moved before the deadline. So that's the interesting thing. To answer your question, I don't think I can give you an answer if he's here in August. I think it's 50-50, really, and I would hedge by saying that.
Okay.
Do I think we see him? I do think we see him, but I think it's before August 1st.
Okay, let me give you one that I think is easier, but maybe it's not. What is Max Kepler here on August 1st?
No. I think yesterday was incredible.
You think the writing was on the wall this weekend, him getting pinch hit for on Saturday night and then not playing against Pivetta yesterday?
It starts with him batting 8th in the lineup. When you're flipping him for Bryson Stott, who can't hit at all right now, right, and putting Max Kepler, who's a veteran, we've talked about this a million times, how the Phillies are very cognizant of not batting their veteran players 8th because it's like a respect thing. And here's a guy with a lot of years in the league who all of a sudden gets dropped to the 8 hole in one game, doesn't hit in his couple of opportunities, gets pinch hit for in the game, and then doesn't start the next day against a right-hander. I think that's the writing on the wall. I think we've seen the last of Max Kepler.
All right, so now we're getting a little bit closer. I agree with you, by the way, on that.
Yeah.
Does that mean that we're getting a Brandon Marsh, Otto Kemp platoon in left field coming this August?
If you don't, so if
because
the
they're either going to acquire a center fielder or Crawford is going to become the center fielder. Yes.
Yes. But here's the thing. Do I think if you're bringing up Crawford to play center field, what purpose does Johan Rojas serve at that point? I mean, seriously.
You're asking the wrong guy.
No, but Johan Rojas currently serves the purpose of defensive replacement pinch runner. That's really what he is. Yes. If you're bringing up Crawford, not that Crawford's like some elite defensive center fielder, but he's better than Brandon Marsh. Are you subbing out Crawford to put in Rojas? Like, I think that's a little redundant. So I still think there's room for another right-handed outfield bat in some, even if it's a bench type player, to be added to this team. It may not be. So either you're going to stick with Marsh and Rojas in center, or you're getting rid of Kepler. Marsh is going to left, and he's going to platoon with Kemp. Whatever it ends up being, the opposite position is going to be added as a right-handed batter in some capacity. That's what I think is going to happen. But it may not be. It's not going to be a star. Okay.
Marsh here, or do you think that Marsh is actually a guy that's in play? We've talked about this. Like, this is what, and certainly every conversation is going to be different. One team might be really interested in a guy like Brandon Marsh. Another team might not be. Like, it's about the match. It's about the way that these conversations evolve. So I know it's not black and white to say, will Crawford be here? But for the purposes of this conversation, like, I just look at this outfield, and I feel like in recent shows I've been using wins above replacement quite a bit to talk about this team. But, I mean, you just look at this outfield and you go look at wins above replacement, and it is bad. Like, they could finish with a negative WAR, man. Like, it's that bad. And I'm like, there's just no way that this current outfield configuration can be the outfield configuration 3 weeks from now. So they've got to do something. And I think they're going to do I think there's dominoes that fall here. So that's why I'm asking the question this way. So then you start to talk about like right-handed bats that can come in. Like, what are your thoughts on a guy like, I don't know, one of the names out here that I haven't talked about as much, but I've heard people kind of throw out there is Taylor Ward, who is under team control this year and next year before hitting restricted or unrestricted free agency in 27. Low batting average, does have some pop though. Like, what do you think there?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't excite me really. To me, Taylor Ward. I mean, yeah, can he hit home runs? Sure, and you need that. I'm not trying to dismiss that. Obviously, we talked about at the beginning, like that's what's missing for this team right now. They were more fun when they hit more home runs, but I think you're going in a direction where you got a guy who just doesn't get on base otherwise. And so if you're not getting that home run and you're plugging him out in left field, like he's a sub 300 on base percentage guy too, right? Yeah. Like I can't with that. Like that's where I really I draw a line with guys. Like, okay, 21 home runs, that's nice. You have 21 home runs and you can't even be an OPS over 780. Like, yeah. Come on, man. Like it's just not good. You complain about, people complain about Nick Castellanos. It's worse in my mind than Nick Castellanos, other than the fact that he hit some home runs. Like I don't know. I just have a hard time with it. I just don't like a guy who just doesn't walk, strikes out a lot. Like, it's the same. It's basically, all right. If it's not the worst, maybe it's the same thing. So you're just if you're frustrated with Castellanos, you're gonna put another version of him on the other side.
Yeah, I'm at a place with talking about this team. I'll be honest with you. Like, be honest with the people listening to the show. I've reached my threshold for this current configuration. Quite honestly, I've said all I've needed to say about this team. Like, I don't have a whole lot more to say about this iteration of the Phillies. Like, yeah. I need to see the tweaks, and then I will be really entertaining, because they're either going to do the things I'm begging them to do, and I'm going to be at the front of the bandwagon for Red October, or I'm going to destroy them. I mean, I will be wicked the final 2 months of this season.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and there's no reason to not be critical if they don't do what they need to do here at the deadline. And there will be, I'm sure we will have varying degrees of acceptance of what they do. It'll either be they hit it out of the park, they recognized all their weaknesses, they went and got everybody that they needed to get, all that stuff, and we're thrilled with it. They could have the complete opposite, where they don't get any of the things that you need, and everybody's mad as hell, pissed off at them. Or it could be somewhere in between, and you get a mix of the two. You get some people are happy with it, some people are not happy with it, and that's kind of where I think it's going to be. I think
just because a team is in it or is within arm's reach of the postseason doesn't mean that they can't make trades and that they won't make trades that could help and impact the Phillies, right? Yeah. Like it doesn't just you can be 500 and still make a meaningful trade. You might be hedging a little bit, but like look at what Boston did. They trade Devers. They've won 10 straight games. They're all of a sudden 3 games out of the division lead behind Toronto. They're a game behind the Yankees. They were left for dead 3 weeks ago, and here they are now. Like, teams can stay in it and still make moves, and I'm hopeful that that's what happens for the Phillies, because if you just play the game that we've been playing for the last 3 weeks, which is look at the standings and tell me which teams are slam dunk sellers, they're hard to find. I mean, we talked last week about the Orioles, and here they come. Now, they stumbled this weekend. They're still 9 under. They just can't quite seem to figure it out. 7.5 out. We talked about the AL Central, the Gelb piece, how they're monitoring the AL Central teams and the Twins and the Guardians. Like, both the Twins and the Guardians are now 6-4 in their last 10 games. Like, Cleveland's kind of gotten up off the mat, and like they're back in it a little bit. 4.5 games out of a wild card spot. Like, there's no team that you can look at in this moment and say, well, they're going to sell. It's no doubt about it. So that's why I think, and the reason why I mention this is because Marsh is a guy that I think that they should have looked to trade over this past offseason. I like Brandon Marsh, but I think that he was a guy that could have changed the complexion of the team. You could have gotten something back, I think, that could have been useful in theory. Like, I'm not saying they didn't explore it or that they balked at it, but I think that he has some value out there. And I wonder if at this deadline, he's a guy that comes up in conversations because so many teams probably are looking for usable pieces now, not just kick the can down the road, give me all your young guys, give me your single A dudes. I think that there's some teams that are in playoff contention and say, like, we can use a Brandon Marsh. We're willing to subtract from our bullpen to go get a guy that can play outfield for us 80% of the time. Like, I just wonder if he's a guy that enters the mix here.
Well, I do think that he's in the conversation. I do think it's possible. But if you do that, right, let's say you're trading Brandon Marsh, right? If you're in agreement with me that they're moving off of Max Kepler, now
I think it would make it more likely that Kepler sticks if you were to right now. Do you think right now that they have it like they're like Max Kepler's not going to be here? No doubt about it. Like
I think so.
Okay,
I do,
because I just wonder if they say like, well, we don't think he's going to be here, but
yeah,
if Marsh were to become part of a package, then
maybe you keep him. I guess it's possible. I just think that they're moving on from him before.
Well, to me, it's like do it Thursday.
Yeah, like I think
if that's the case, then just do it.
Yeah, I think it could be. I think it could be that soon. By the way, Bob, I just want to throw this out there. The Phillies just made a pick, first pick that's not a pitcher. They drafted a New Jersey high school shortstop. Now, I know this piques your interest. They drafted a kid named Matthew Ferrara from Toms River High School East.
Yeah, there's like Toms River South, North, and East, I believe. We did not see a lot of programs. Yeah, I played the 5 years I coached in South Jersey. We played Toms River in the postseason one time. We beat them. Okay. Yeah.
So there you go. That was the first non-pitcher selected in the 9th round. So anyway,
a lot of people wanted the Haddon Heights kid, the catcher.
Yeah. They could have taken him. He was there for them, and there was some talk about that. But I think that when Gage Wood fell to them at 26,
dude, he was awesome though.
Can't pass him up.
The kid was good. He was really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like he just looked different.
Yeah,
he looked different.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, one thing I wanted to bring up about the Gage Wood pick was that we're talking Aaron Nola last month, right? And I go, like the college game, like guys talking a lot of shit, beating their chest, flipping bats, pointing to their jerseys, and then they draft this kid And I asked Noel, I was like, what do you think about all that stuff? He goes, yeah, you don't really see that up here. And Aaron Noel's like the antithesis of that.
Right.
And then here comes this kid who is nuts. And it's fun, right? Like, I'm very interested to see what type of what his demeanor is like if and when he were to get here. Like, could you imagine Aaron Nola starting a game 4 for the Phillies and he's taken out of the game in the 6th inning, and then this psycho's running out of the bullpen doors?
Yes, I could see that.
From 10 miles an hour to 100.
Yeah. No, I'm fascinated by the idea. I really am. And it's like, it's been done before.
You think it's going to happen? You think he comes up? Do you think that they made this pick with he's coming up?
Well, I think they made the pick saying this is a possibility. I'm not going to sit here and say it's definitely going to happen, because maybe he gets to pro ball and all of a sudden he gets torched, right? And then it's like, all right, we can't call this guy up, right? But the White Sox have done this twice in once in the recent past and once a little further back. But if you go back to the year that they drafted Chris Sale in 2010, he came up and did this for them, same year. And then they did it a few years back with Garrett Crochet as well. As a reliever. And obviously Crochet is one of the best starters in the game now. But they brought him in right away as a reliever because they felt that he could help the team. So I think that there's certainly a possibility that it happens. I think that the Phillies would like it to happen. Whether it does or it doesn't remains to be seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You want to play a game real quick?
Yeah, let's play a game. 3
burning questions for the Phillies second half. Does Bryce Harper, who has shown signs of life here over the last week or so, maybe a little bit more recently than that, it's really only been about 5 days, but over his last 7 games, he's hitting .308, so OPS is over 1,000. Bryce Harper, OPS over 900 in the second half of this season. Not saying will he finish over 900. I'm saying in the second half, you get an over 900 OPS from him.
Yes.
Okay.
I think so. And it's really because it's not like I'm sitting here telling you like, oh, he's going to go off and like hit all these home runs. The one thing about Harper, regardless of where he's at physically, or regardless if he's in a slump or not, he does walk a lot, right? So his on-base percentage stays way up. I think his on-base percentage, I'm not looking at it right now, but it's got to be like 380, somewhere in that range, right? So if you're there, you really just got to get that slug to around 500, right? And if you're getting a slug close to 500, you're probably on base percentages, maybe even a little bit higher than that in the second half, slightly. So I do think getting over 900 is doable for him.
JT Realmuto, who
I like to talk about JT. Yeah.
Look, I mean,
won them the game yesterday in every sense of the word. Called a great game, threw a guy out at second, then gets the game-winning hit. Like, he did everything for them yesterday.
He's hitting .339 over his last 30 games. And he's, .377 on base percentage over his last 30 games. Slug's not great, but he's been really productive. And out of nowhere now, he's got the OPS up over 700. He's at 705 right now. I felt like that was going to be almost impossible for him to do this season. And yes, he's still struggling against left-handers. We know all about the splits. We've talked about it on this show. Let me ask you this. Does JT Realmuto get his OPS over 730 by the time this season ends?
That's a tougher one. See that? I mean, I think at some point it will get over 730, but will it finish there is where I have the hard time saying yes to, because I think that's a tougher call. I'll say yes, but I'm not as confident in that one as I am about Harper.
Yeah. For what it's worth, it was 651 on June 1st.
By the way, I mentioned in the show notes that I wanted to do some fun stats. One of the fun stats about JT Realmuto is he is second in the National League right now behind Freddie Freeman in hitting against right-handed pitching. Isn't that crazy?
Should have been an all-star.
He's the second best hitter in the National League against right-handed pitching in the entire league for the season. Again, this is with amongst players with at least 200 at-bats, which is, I think, it's a lot. I mean, it's like 160 players.
All right, I have a little sidebar question then here, because now we're seeing the resurgence of JT.
Yeah.
What kind of deals he get this offseason? And Or are the Phillies the team that gives it to him?
I don't know, man. Like, I still don't know. I still think that there's a chance that I still think it's a 50-50. Like, at the beginning of the season, remember, if we go back to our predictions at the beginning of the year, my prediction was they would let Schwarber walk and they would re-sign Realmuto. And then as the season kind of progressed, it was like, all right, well, it's going to flip. They're going to re-sign Schwarber and let Realmuto walk. And now you sit there and wonder on both. Not to say that they wouldn't want to bring them both back, but are both guys going to get great offers?
Everyone agrees that this is kind of closing. The window's closing, that a new wave is coming. And it's like, well, how do you not re-sign Realmuto?
Yeah.
And how do you not re-sign Schwarber? And how do you not re-sign Suarez?
Right. Yeah.
And how do you
Yeah. It's a tough call, man, on all three. I mean, I think if I had to put the order of probability, I'd still put Schwarber slightly ahead of Realmuto, but only slightly. And I'd have Realmuto second and Ranger third in the probability of re-signings.
Rank the from best to worst, the second halves of the following pitchers here: Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez, Jesus Luzardo, Aaron Nola.
Sanchez 1. Suarez 2, Nola 3, Luzardo 4. Because I ultimately think Luzardo is going to end up in the bullpen.
In the bullpen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who is, and finally, who is in game 1 of the playoff series with the Phillies holding a 2-1 lead, pitching the 9th inning?
Someone not here. I don't know who it's going to be. I think that they're chasing some big names. I think obviously we know they're talking about Clase. We know we're talking about Duran. We talked about Bednar, Santana, Jax, all these guys, like all these names, Cade Smith, all these names that have been discussed. Whoever it is that they trade for, it's going to be that person throwing the 9th inning. It's not going to be Matt Strahm. It's not going to be Orion Kerkering. It's not going to be Jesus Luzardo. Although I do have one wild possibility that it could be. And this is just me saying this. This isn't something, I haven't heard this down at the ballpark. I've heard everything the opposite of this. Everything that anybody said has been the complete opposite of this.
Okay.
But part of me thinks to myself, if in fact Andrew Painter does not become part of your rotation because he hasn't been able to show that he's going hard beyond 50 pitches, 60 pitches. Like in all of his starts, it seems like he starts off well and then he starts tailing off a little bit. Maybe you look at that and go, okay, let's pump the brakes for this season on him as a starter and get his stuff in the back of the bullpen and make him a closer.
Do you think it's fair to kind of give him a little bit of a pass this season in that he's coming back from a major surgery? We've seen more established arms struggle. I mean, Spencer Strider is not Spencer Strider right now, hasn't been this season. Like, did we just kind of gloss over this as like, hey, this is a pretty substantial thing that could have a significant impact on guys' development?
I think he's been fine considering what he's come back from, in all honesty. It's usually the second year when you come back from Tommy John that you're back to normal, right? It's not first year you're there and you're able to pitch and you're able to be okay and be good. But how many guys really come back from TJ the first year and are awesome? It just doesn't seem to happen, right, that often. So I think that, yes, it's fair to give him some grace in the sense that he's had a little bit of struggles at AAA. Yeah.
All right, I don't have too much else. You mentioned Matt Strahm, and I kind of got goosebumps. I shuddered in a horror kind of way. His 9th inning yesterday, dear God, he averaged on the sinker yesterday 91.5. It's down almost a mile per hour from his season average, which is down a mile per hour from his average last year. I mean, I'm watching this guy unable to locate, throwing 91 miles an hour yesterday, and I thought they were lucky to survive that 9th inning. I mean, look, I know we've had the same conversation again and again. Matt Strahm's fine. He's having an okay year. He's coming off of a career year. He's not going to replicate it. That's okay. But my God, dude, these guys like using Romano and Strom in like the 8th and 9th in key situations. It kills me. Like
I was having
the other night, Banks Romano in the 7th. It's like
I was having flashbacks yesterday with Strom to what it was like experiencing Mitch Williams in a 1-run game because he couldn't find the strike zone.
Yeah.
Like it was, and it didn't matter what the velocity was. I mean, I know why you're bringing it up, but that wasn't the thing. It was the control and lack thereof that was like, holy cow, this is what it was like every time Mitch Williams came in to pitch at the back end of a game in '93. It was just an adventure every time out, and more often than not, he got through it. But then obviously it hurt you in the end. That's where I think Matt Strom is this year, and I don't mean that he's Mitch Williams. I mean that what he is that. He's a guy who's not as good as he was last year. He's enough of a grinder that he'll get you through most of his outings, and so his numbers don't end up looking as bad as you think, but he still takes you on a roller coaster in every outing, right? And that's what I think Matt Strom is this season. Yeah, I give him credit for being a grinder, right? Knowing that you don't have your best stuff and still finding a way through. That's solid. That's a solid veteran piece to have. But it doesn't necessarily make you feel better about those moments in the moment, as it were.
Yeah. I should have, what I really should have done was been more of a producer ahead of this show, because I have so many questions and so many things. Like how do things project in the second half? How do things project beyond this year? Like it's almost impossible right now to watch the Phillies and look at Bryson Stott and say like, well, this is encouraging, or I feel good about this, or this is a guy that's going to help them win more games in the second half.
Yeah.
That's one part of it. I don't know. Like we keep talking about like the Phillies at the deadline and how can they improve. And you obviously have the insurance policy of Edmundo Sosa, who can play against lefties and give you a little bit of a lift here and offset some of Stott's struggles. But like, is there any chance in hell that they get to the deadline and a middle infielder type becomes available and they say, that's how we're going to do this? This is how we're going to improve our offense?
I think
to what end should they be? Do they feel committed to the idea of Bryson Stott? Like we can't move off of Bryson.
Well, the one good thing that you can do with Bryson Stott is you could, if you wanted to, send him down to get right, to fix whatever's working.
Wonder how that would be received in the clubhouse. Wonder how that'd be received by Bryce Harper.
It is what it is, man. At this point, like how do you sit there and just trot the guy out when he can't hit?
Yeah, I mean he can't.
He's
been one of the worst hitters in the sport for
like
a
you.
year now.
You maybe don't like that's what I'm saying. Like you're not giving up on him per se, but maybe it's like, listen, for what we need to do this year until he figures it out, unless he figures it out, we need to find another option, another avenue. Yeah. I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. Do I think they'll do it? No, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think it would make total sense, and I think people would have to understand it and accept it for sure.
It just feels like there's an opportunity. Like we talk about, is there a team that is willing to give the Phillies what they need? Can a deal come together? It does feel like, though, with this team and so many different holes and so many different guys that you could look at and say they could upgrade here, they could upgrade here. Like I think that they have the ingredients to do something at the deadline that makes you go, whoa. Like I didn't see that coming, or whoa. Like, could you not see? Like, I don't know what it is, though, right? Like, I don't know what the deal is, or who it is, or for what player, or who'd be the guy that they would like bail on. But couldn't you just see? Because I could. The 48 hours leading up to this deadline, where something breaks, and I'm sending you a text message going, "Holy shit!"
Yeah,
I didn't see that come. Like, I just feel like that there's the ingredients for that type of outcome at this deadline.
I could see it.
Because I still think what I thought this past offseason, which is part of it is just the familiarity and watching the same guys show the same flaws. And like it does kind of familiarity breeds contempt, right? Like I've said that before on this show. I just think this team needs a shakeup. I just think from a personality standpoint, from an on-field standpoint, this team needs to get the jumper cables and get a jolt, man. Like I would be stunned. I'd be stunned if the Phillies simply went out, added a closer, and this group comes together and gets crazy hot and finishes the deal. I just don't think that's going to happen.
I think that the organization still wants to. They still look ahead, right, Bob?
Yeah.
And this is why I think that. While I do think that they will move one of their top prospects, at least one, maybe two, I do think that there is still a little bit of a middle ground with this team. I don't think that it's an all-in at the deadline, because when you look at it, you still have Wheeler signed for 2 more years at big money. You still have Harper signed for 6 more years at big money, and Turner big money for 6 or 7 years, whatever he's got left. And then, Nola for another 5 years, 6 years after this at big money. Like there's a lot of money tied up in big name players for the next several seasons. And they feel like they have to contend during at least the first couple of those seasons, right? So this is why it's like they're not going to completely burn it down as far as the organizational depth to go all in this year. But they will do more than they did the last couple seasons, right? I think that's where it's a middle ground thing. I don't think it's an all-in kind of situation, but I think that they're willing to move more than they have in the past.
Anything else you want to hit on, or do you want to get to one last thing?
Well, no, I do have one more Phillies thing, and then I have another crazy stat for you that I want to we can get to, and then one last thing. But the last Phillies thing I want to get to, and we didn't talk about it. Was the team basically ripping Major League Baseball over the All-Star game, putting Jacob Mizorski from Milwaukee into the playoffs or into the All-Star roster, and not either Christopher Sanchez or Ranger Suarez. I just thought that their comments were great, and I wish they would have done more, Bob. I tell you that there was not a comment I disagreed with. I thought Trey Turner was spot on. I thought Nick Castellanos was spot on. I thought Schwarber was spot on. I thought they all were spot on. The one thing that I think would have made the biggest difference is if every Philly, including Schwarber, decided we're not going to the All-Star game. Play the All-Star game without a Philly. Do you want to send a message that you're screwing it up? And they are. Major League Baseball is screwing up the All-Star game in the way that they do this. And they nearly cost poor Christopher Sanchez money. Yeah. Good on the Phillies for paying him an All-Star bonus, right? Even though he's not really an All-Star. But the Major League Baseball is screwing it up enough that the Phillies would send the biggest message if we're not going to have any of our – we're a first-place team. We have all these players that should be there, and we're not sending anybody. Figure it out, baseball. Like that would have been a thing that I wish they would have done.
Yeah, I'm not a huge All-Star game guy. I don't generally care. The Mizorowski thing is interesting to me because he's good. He's a good young pitcher, and he's exciting to watch. And I know there's this argument out here that like, well, this is baseball featuring its young talent. This is how you do it. And it's not how you do it. Correct. Because now what you're doing is you're destroying the platform where you're putting these people. Like you can showcase, but when the showcase is diminished in value, then it doesn't mean as much.
Right.
So it is a joke. It is a farce. Players should be angered by it. It's nothing against the kid, but look, I don't know how you fix All-Star games in general. Players make so much money. We are in such a championship or bust mentality, the way that we consume sports in today's day and age, that I just don't know that you're ever going to make All-Star games important again. I mean, I think that, with the Pro Bowl, it's obviously that ship has sailed. It's never going to come back. It feels like baseball's hanging on by a thread. This is a step in the wrong direction, though.
Yeah. Here's one, and I'm going to kill Amadeo for this. God love this guy. All-Star game lost value when they stopped the World Series home field advantage. Dumbest idea ever. Dumbest. They never should have brought it in to begin with. How dare you say to a team that makes the World Series, sorry, you don't get home field advantage because of what happened in an exhibition game 4 months ago. Like, no, absolutely not. That should never have been a thing, and it should never come back. I know Tim Kelly on Patterson, he wrote the same things. Like, bring it back. Like, no, dumb. That's the worst possible thing. What you could do is you could feature your young star players. But what I would do is, if you want to do it, if you want to get kind of creative, maybe don't make it like American League versus National League. The whole American League, National League thing, right, was designed back in an era when they didn't play each other. Well, now you play the American League. National League teams play the American League teams. So it's not as interesting anymore that it's National League versus American League because all season long you see that. What if you did your young stars versus your veterans? So anybody who is in the league 4 years or less than X number of games, whatever, you set that parameter and you make that young star team, and then you make the veteran team of all stars, and you have that. And now all of a sudden you're going, here's the game's future against the game's present, right? Like, make it that. That would be something that's interesting and get people excited for the game again. Yeah. And you can have that blend of both, of creating those two teams. Like, I think that's the way to go. In all honesty, that's what I would do.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so here's the crazy stat thing. I'm going to make it a trivia question because yesterday we're sitting out at the bar. I'm out with Ant, and his Ant had a softball game yesterday, Ant Jr., and went to a softball game, and then we went to the bar afterwards. So I'm sitting there with all his goofball buddies at softball, and he throws this trivia question out, and I couldn't believe the answer, Bob, and I wanted to throw it at you. He said, all time, see if anybody in the chat knows it as well. If you look all time, Major League Baseball history, batting average on balls in play, and this is with, you had to have had at least 1,000 at bats in Major League Baseball. Batting average on balls in play. Ty Cobb, all time Major League Baseball leader on batting average and balls in play with a BABIP of 383. Who's number 2? And here's the clue. I'll give you a clue. It's the player is currently active.
Oh, wow. Huh.
And when you hear this, it's going to blow your mind. And I double checked him. I went to StatHead and double checked him just to make sure.
That's why I'm really like paused, because the guy's probably not that good. So it's like, yeah, go ahead.
I'll give you one more clue. It's a Philly. It's a current Philly. Is number 2 all time in Major League Baseball history in batting average on balls in play. At 369 is their career BABIP.
Is that Alec Bohm?
Not Alec Bohm. But you're on the right track now.
Okay.
Now you're on the right track.
Who we got? Who is it?
Brandon Marsh.
Really?
Think about it. He strikes
out. Never in a million years.
He strikes out so much, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you wouldn't think. That's why it's as high as it is. But you wouldn't think it because he makes so many outs, striking out. He doesn't make, when he makes contact, he gets hits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
If the fences were 10 feet further in, too, think about how good it would be. That guy might lead baseball and fly out to the warning track.
I couldn't believe it when he said it. We were like, no.
I would have never in a million years. You could have given me 1,000 guesses, and I would have not gotten there. You could have given me 300 guesses with active players, and I would have not.
Ty Cobb, Brandon Marsh.
There you go. Maybe that'll come up in trade conversations.
Like, I was floored. I was floored by it. Just to give you the other couple names on the list. Who's number 3? I don't think anybody's ever heard of, is Ross Barnes. But number 4, Shoeless Joe Jackson. Number 5, Jorge Alfaro. And then number 6 was Rogers Hornsby.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know I don't know how you put those players together with Jorge Alfaro and Brandon Marsh. Like, I just don't understand.
It's not wild.
I'd love to dismiss the stat altogether and be like, well, obviously it just doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but there's pretty good players mixed in there too.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's totally crazy. So it makes you wonder if that's why the Phillies are. I mean, if part of the reason why the Phillies are a little bit more bullish on keeping Brandon Marsh, with a couple years of control. I mean, that could be a thing.
Can't trade Ty Cobb.
The last thing I just wanted to do is I just wanted to go back over our early season predictions and see what we're changing here now that we're at the All-Star break. That this will be the one last thing. So beginning of the year, I think I had, if I remember correctly, I had the Atlanta Braves winning the National League, going to the World Series. Obviously, and I had them going against the Texas Rangers. So boy, oh boy, that I struggle with that. While I think Texas is still a decent team, and if they get their stuff together, they could get there. The Braves aren't going anywhere. That ship has sailed, and I admit I was wrong about the Atlanta Braves. But I wanted to kind of see if you had, and I think you had Dodgers Red Sox, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
I did. Yes.
Yeah, Dodgers Red Sox, what you had. So I just wanted to see if we, now that we can get to do a reset on our predictions, where are we, or are you still the same with Dodgers Red Sox?
I am very curious to see what the Red Sox do at the trade deadline. Like, do they take this run and now say, you know what, let's go win the whole damn thing? I don't know. I'm not going to move off the Red Sox. Like, certainly, do I really think they're going to win the World Series? Probably not. But like, I don't love any other team so much that I'll change my pick. I don't think the Tigers are going to get to the World Series. I just don't. I guess I'm a hater. The Astros are probably a good bet.
Yeah.
If you actually made me pick a team right now, I'd say Astros. But for the sake of the exercise, I'm going to stick on the Red Sox. And in the National League, I think the Padres are going to go to the World Series.
Really?
I do.
You like that? You like that combination? Their bullpen is lights out.
Yeah.
Their bullpen is fantastic. First team to ever have 3 relievers go to an All-Star game.
I'll tell you who else I like Milwaukee a lot too. I think Milwaukee's good.
I do too. I like Milwaukee a lot too.
I like Milwaukee more than I like the Cubs.
Yeah. Well, the Cubs, so here's where I'm at. So I was going to roll the dice a little bit with the Cubs. So I think the Astros are the team out of the American League now. I'll go Houston as my team out of the American League. And I was going to go with the Cubs, but with this asterisk next to it. They have to get pitching at the deadline.
Yeah.
If they don't get pitching at the deadline, I change my mind. Like if we were doing this, I almost wanted to wait until after the deadline to make this decision on having this conversation. If the Cubs don't add starting pitching and a little bit of bullpen as well, I don't care how good their lineup is. Like they got to have pitchers. They got to have something, right? So, but I think they're going to. I think they're going to add at the deadline, and so I will say Cubs, Astros is your 2025 World Series.
You more or less confident, or the same amount of confidence in the Phillies making a run in the
I had them in the NLCS, and I think it really depends on where they finish and who they have to match up against. But yeah, like I do worry about if you're the 3. First of all, if you're the 3 seed, now you got to play a wild card round, which nobody wants to do, right? Yeah. I don't care if it's here, right? It's best of 3. It's anything can go wrong, so you don't want that. And then you're probably going up against Chicago or the Dodgers, and you don't have your pitchers lined up in a DS in a best of 5. So you have to do better than 3rd. If they could get a bye, win the division, and get the bye, then I am a little bit more confident that they can make it to the CS. Because then I do trust Wheeler, Sanchez, like lining up your pitchers, even if it's against the Cubs, right? Like I would like the Phillies, if they're the 1 or the 2 seed, to go to the NLCS. I don't have them going to the World Series. I do not, regardless. But if they're the 3 seed, I think they can get bounced earlier. So that's where I have. That's where I have the Phillies. Yeah.
All right.
So there you go. Well, thanks for tuning in to an afternoon edition of Phightin Words. Bob and I decided to. I had a little bit of stuff going on this morning, so we had to do this in the afternoon. So thanks for you, all 700 of you who hopped in here this morning or this afternoon to talk with us. But if you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts. But the best bet is right here on YouTube. Subscribe to Phightin Words. Click the thumbs up. Ring the bell. You'll get that alert whenever we go live. If you're listening in the podcast feed, don't miss the show. You want to find us on YouTube. It's youtube.com. What am I supposed to say? Backslash at Phightin Words? Or is it just no? That's what I've been saying. I'm supposed to say slash. Yeah, it's youtube.com/ at Phightin Words. That's for you, Sean Moran. Anyway, for B's Bob Wankel, I'm Anthony SanFilippo saying thanks for tuning in. We'll come back to you on Friday to look ahead at the Los Angeles Angels coming into town next weekend to face the Phillies as the second half of the season, the unofficial second half of the season, gets underway. So for Bob, I'm Anthony saying thanks for tuning in, and we will see you on Friday.